A few days ago, the ZRG was given a massive buff, moving it closer to the status of being the highest caliber sniper in Verdansk. It now has the highest damage out of any other sniper, but more interesting to me is its new penetration power, which allows it to hit players entirely through most buildings in the game. Now before I discuss how many walls it can hit through, I have to talk about the new damage numbers so that we can understand how hard it hits a player when it travels through a given wall. So after the update, hitting a player in the extremities, meaning the arms or legs, will deal a flat 100 damage. Hit a player in the lower torso and the damage goes up to 125. Now aim a little higher to hit the upper torso and the shots hit for 180 damage. Then comes the neck, really odd thing that Raven added. I'll do my best to color out the area that it covers, so like that. Hit them in this area and it'll deal 215 damage. Lastly, to no surprise whatsoever, hitting a headshot will deal over 250 damage. I went over to the True Game Data website to see what damage other snipers did, and what I found is that there isn't a single one that deals more damage than the ZRG. On all parts of the body, the ZRG hits harder, especially on the upper chest where most snipers deal 112 damage. I even went back and retested this just to make sure. That looks like it hurt. Also, while recording this, I happened to run into someone who watches my videos. We ended up killing each other, and I left the game because I was mad, but after that, he actually joined my Discord to apologize. So, shouts out to this guy. Now moving on, to learn everything there is to know about bullet penetration would be complicated, long-winded, and not very helpful. This is because the damage you deal through walls depends on what material it is, the thickness of it, the angle it's hit from, and of course the weapon you're using. So for my testing, I'm only going to share what I think will help. The first test is using this building in front of me. There's a door, a wall behind it, and then another wall behind that one. I'll be shooting through all three surfaces. For simplicity's sake, my target will be shot in the leg, since I'm bad at math and the 100 extremity damage is easiest to work with. Wooden doors are especially bad at blocking bullets, and because of that, the ZRG hits the target and only leaves it with about 2 or 3 health. Therefore, we can assume that the bullet did around 97 damage. Now it's time for a concrete wall. I get my target behind it, I hit the leg once again, and the ZRG deals roughly 72 damage. Now it's time for 2 concrete walls. I had a small issue finding my target, but once I did, the shot dealt 48 damage, going through 2 concrete walls and a wooden door. At this point, it's safe to say that the ZRG will become a wall hacker's new best friend, although it still loses considerable damage when going through multiple surfaces. Now that brings the question, what about trees? Because in many endgame situations, trees are the only cover a player may have to work with. These were also somewhat difficult to test, as trees aren't the same thickness all the way around. But to be precise, I made sure to hit my target through the middle, giving the bullet the thickest possible width to travel. For leg testing, I was able to consistently hit for 45 damage, which was similar to hitting a target through 2 concrete walls. Even though the damage is quite low, this is still important for the ZRG, as it's able to consistently hit through trees where most other snipers would need FMJ. This new ability gives the ZRG more control in these scenarios. For example, imagine an injured target plating up behind a tree. A ZRG could simply just tag the tree and stop the person from plating. Then it could tag the tree a few more times to down the player. And then, unless the player has any rocks to crawl to, the ZRG could then thirst them through the tree, although it would take several shots. If the opportunity ever opens up, it's a great way to bully another player. From then on, I went out to test other things like the riot shield, but that didn't work. Still blocks the ZRG. Then there's window glass. The important tip to know is that it blocks all snipers from achieving a one-hit headshot. I wanted to see if the ZRG was an exception to this rule, and surprisingly it wasn't. Glass will still prevent it from scoring a one-hit kill. Then I did some testing with vehicles too. It only took 1 bullet to realize that the ZRG is a poor weapon to use for vehicles. Trying to disable one would take a long time to do, and it simply isn't worth it. I also shot a driver through the frame to see if there would be any damage difference, and I found that it would do the same damage as a normal HDR. Therefore, when it comes to vehicles, the ZRG penetration offers little value. Now this wouldn't be a complete summary if I didn't include the nerfs to the ZRG. I think the changes are minuscule, and even the average pro won't notice it unless it were to be looked at carefully under editing software, but they still must be acknowledged. The largest change was given to the ADS speed, slowing it down by 4%. At most, this reduces the speed by about 20 milliseconds and you won't notice it. But then with this update, they also reworked the lasers so they actually improve your ADS speed. So if you were to equip one on the ZRG, your ADS speed is going to be faster than it was pre-patch. The bullet velocity has also been slowed down by just 2%, putting it more in line with the Tundra and the HDR. When you kit out the ZRG for full velocity, you should only be seeing a 30 meter per second decrease. Then the ZRG saw some slight movement changes, reducing the move speed by 2% and then the ADS move speed by 1%. Overall, these changes don't affect the ZRG, and if Raven really wanted to nerf it, they would add another digit onto these percent values. In conclusion, the Kar 98 and Swiss still remain the kings of aggressive sniping, but for a mid to long range option, the ZRG is king. On top of having the least bullet drop and top line velocity, it was given a buff to make it the hardest hitting sniper in the game, both in terms of damage and surface penetration. There were also some nerfs to the ZRG, but they're too slight to notice, and it shouldn't hold you back from giving it a try. Anyways, I think I'll be wrapping up the video here. If you enjoyed this kind of format, let me know in the comments, and I'll be sure to take your feedback. My name is Wetzel, and until next time, peace!